So in the previous video tutorials, we've seen how to create static content by adding elements to the page and styling them. In this video, we're going to explore how to use the model panel to create databases and feed that data to our page. The first step is to create a data model like this. You need to give it a name. In our case, it's going to be a database that contains a list of animals. This checkbox can be used to set this data model as the user's data model. The user data model is a special database that contains the lists of accounts your users have created. It's used by the sign-up and login forms. Alright, so we've created the data model, but we need to add fields to the model. The first one is going to be the name field. There are a few settings you can set for this field, such as the type of the field, its handle, the default value, and so on. We will also add a description field. This time it's going to be a multi-line text field. And an image field. Perfect. So now we've set up the fields of the data model, but we also need to set the access control settings of the model. This is a crucial step since you need to secure the database and decide who can access it and make changes to it. So we go back to the list of models and we now need to click on the key icon. There are two ways to set up the access control of your model. The simple way using this table or the advanced way by using the Visual Flow Builder. For this tutorial, we're going to use the simple mode. The way it works is simple. There are 4 operations: view, modify, delete, and create a new entry. For each, you can customize who can complete that operation. In our case, we want people to be able to view the list of animals, but not modify it, delete animals, or add new ones. So we set it like this. For logged in users, we still want to allow viewing the animals but not creating new ones. The entry creator row is for entries that have been created by a specific user. This is useful, for example, in a comment section. You don't want everyone to be able to modify all the comments, you just want the comments creator to be able to modify their own comments. So now that the access control is set, we can save the project. We can now add a few entries into the animals database. Alright, now we have an animals database that contains a few entries. The next step is to populate our page with that dynamic content. The first thing we need to do is to fetch the information from the database. For that, we go to the page controller here and we can right-click and add the data retriever module under database. We can configure the module by clicking on the little cogs. The data model we want to retrieve the data from is the animals model. For this simple example, we do not have filters to add, but let's say you have a blog, you can filter out articles to only show the ones which are marked as published, for example. We can then sort out the entries. For us, we're going to show the most recent ones first. Alright, so this module doesn't take any input, but it outputs the entries corresponding to the animals in our database. What we need to do now is to assign this data to a variable. We need to add a set variable module under data processing. We will call our variable animals and we can connect the entries we've fetched to the value of the variable. Now we need to make sure that our module is properly connected to the execution flow by connecting the modules like this. It's a common mistake for beginners to forget to make those connections. And now for the final step, we simply need to select the card element we've created in the previous tutorial, and in its properties we can enable the loop variable property. The data array variable is the one we've just set in the page controller. We named it animals. And we will set the loop variable to be stored in a variable called animal without an S. In other words, the card element is going to loop through the animals array, and for each element in that array, it's going to render a card for that specific animal. We now need to link the animal variable to the fields of the card. We simply click on the circle and choose Link to a Variable. For the title, we will link it to the animal.title variable. For For the description, it's animal.description, and for the image URL, it's animal.image variable. Those correspond to the handles of the fields in the database. And we are now done. We have created the database, set the access control restrictions, fetched the data in the page controller, and now we have looped through the animals variable to render each animal card. We can click on the preview link to see the final result. As you can see, the 3 animals that we've added to the database are now rendered in their respective cards. If we add new entries or modify the existing ones in the database, this page will automatically update. That is it for this tutorial. In the next one, we will see how to create interactive content through the Actions panel.